Welcome back to the channel, everybody. I am Mick Alphanim. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will greatly appreciate that. And if you could, please click that like button, turn it into a rocket, and send it to the moon. Clicking that like button helps the video to be seen by many more people. Also, whitelisting me on AdBlock. Make sure that I can do this much more often, much more thorough research, and bring you the absolute best content possible. That is a lot of incentive right there. So, Ripple has been doing a great job. Okay, I want to say something about comfort, taking comfort in the fact that Ripple is an for-profit company. This is a very good thing, and I think it's taken as a negative very often, erroneously, because being a for-profit company means that Ripple has a vested interest to put forward the mass adoption of the XRP ledger, which XRP is an integral part of, So it must be used. So they're going to be the most aggressive of the companies trying to do deals. Now, being that they are, for now, a private company, they don't have to let all of their deals be known. They're going to keep a lot of them behind the scenes. They're going to sign memorandums of understanding. And they're going to lock in a lot of different businesses, a lot of banks, okay? And they are aware, let me make this very clear, they are highly aware and involved in the development of MCBDCs and MBDCs. They have to be. You have to have a forward-moving vision as a company and understand where the landscape is moving to, where all the capital is flowing to, what the central banks want. It's not just about what the companies want and what their vision is. So let's say Ripple's vision is all the money. Okay, and that's very ambitious. That's very admirable. However, that's Ripple's vision. That doesn't necessarily mean that that is what the central banks will want or the large institutions will want. The large institutions are now coming to the table and saying, hey, we want MCBDCs, we want MBDCs. And Ripple is going to have to say, well, that doesn't negate from us covering all of the money. So let's continue to work together. We're going to help you achieve that goal. And that's what I believe they've been doing. It's the only logical thing because you see XRP being utilized, or the XRP ledger being utilized in a massive amount of areas in the banking sector. That, along with XLM Stellar, Hedera HBAR, you see all of them making a massive push. Algorand is also making a massive push. We're going to cover a lot of Algorand in this video today. So they're all in agreement. And this is why they preemptively made interoperability a key feature of all of the ledgers. Understanding that it's going to take a lot more than what they have. I'm telling you that right now. The coins that they have available, although it looks immense and massive to a lot of individuals out there, to the banking sector, knowing the amount of transactions that are going to be flowing from both banks, large business institutions, small businesses, and P2P for cross-border payments, there's not enough of one particular crypto to go around. So it's going to take all of them in an interoperable system, and then you have a complete system. Look at it as more of a web than one system. There will not be one protocol covering all of the money. In my humble opinion, I think that's nonsensical. And you see the central banks telling you this. The Bank of International Settlements is testing what? Multi-central bank digital currencies. Why? They have some of the most brilliant minds available on the planet to do analysis and come back to them and inform them, hey, we need a fail-proof system so that if one system is having issues, we don't even have to worry about it. We can move on to the other parts of the system. We have inflow, outflow. We have smart contract platforms that we can keep in rotation. We have currency rails. We can keep in rotation the best of the best. They're always going to be upgrading because they want to stay a part of the system. That's another reason MBDCs and MCBDCs will be the future, is because those particular NFBIs, NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions like Stellar Foundation, like Ripple, like Hedera, they're going to want to remain in the system, and they are easily replaceable with something that is superior. So by them wanting to remain in that system, which is going to bring a massive amount of capital, is going to make everyone insane amounts of money. Just do your own due diligence and you'll see this. We've provided all the PDF documents on this channel. We've provided a lot of information that you can crunch the numbers yourself. And we've done that from the beginning. So you already know this, I believe, right? In my humble opinion. But because they want to remain a part of that massive upside, this burgeoning new system that will take over, they're going to have to always innovate. They are incentivized by the need to be included in the system to always innovate and upgrade their protocols. As you saw with Starlight, with Stellar, 1 million transactions between two parties. That's just the beginning. They're not going to stop there. So then Hedera is going to have to upgrade. Ripple's always going to have to upgrade. This is great for the banks to have this friendly competition, so to speak, where all of the NBFIs, non-banking financial institutions, are constantly upgrading their protocols, all right? And everything's getting better and better. Meanwhile, the central banks don't have to do much. They let the NBFIs, they let the foundations and companies, the fintechs, upgrade everything, do all of the work, and the central banks, being the overarching controllers of everything, because they have all of the money and all of the power as of now based upon the legacy system, they can just sit back and benefit and collect all of that extra money that was left on the table by the legacy system over the years. If you take a look at what's going on right now, you can see that this is clearly, at least this is one of the major paths that they're trying to take, because this is what they've been telling us, okay? So everything's going very good. Ripple is always going to be motivated because they are a for-profit company to stay ahead of the curve and ahead of the competition, or at least on par with the competition. I take comfort in holding XRP, knowing that they must get the deals done. Now, they might get the deals done. They must, if they want to survive as a company. If they want to continue to be a premier blockchain, they are incentivized. They must be successful. And that, my friends, I tell you, is a secure holding. Now, let me just clarify. I'm just sharing my humble opinion. I don't particularly care whether you hold XRP, you sell XRP, means nothing to me whatsoever, because the money is not going to come from retail. Retail means nothing when it comes to the banking coins. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but there's a lot of new people here. They're new to crypto. They don't understand these things. Retail movement means nothing. The massive wave of capital will come into the banking coins when there is mass adoption by the rest of the world and possibly United States, if there's regulatory clarity in the United States. But the rest of the world is not going to wait for the United States. They're not. They're in a mad rush to be first because they do not want to be controlled by the supervisory bodies. They don't. I'm telling you this. They don't want to be controlled. Okay, so if you release your CBDC now, let's say you roll it out on something like Consensus, let's say you roll it out on Hedera or Stellar. Well, the European Central Bank, which is a supervisory body, we're going to use them as an example. The European Central Bank, which is a supervisory body, is going to come to everyone else as well as your bank, and they're going to say, listen, this is what we want to utilize as an MBDC, MCBDC. Implement this now. But those institutions that have no CBDC, they must take that on because they have no excuse. They must take on the usage of that particular MBDC, MCBDC, as they must upgrade and they must hold this particular standard, which will be ISO 20022. They must uphold this particular standard. There will be no excuses allowed, okay? But if you already have your MBDC rolled out, now you control the pathway. You can come to the European Central Bank and the supervisory bodies and say, listen, we rolled out our CBDC on Consensus, Hedera, Stellar, and we want to utilize something that is going to keep us in line with what we are already using. The supervisory body is highly logical. They're going to say, okay, that's perfectly fine. So you can keep that, but let us integrate some of our systems with yours so it can flow smoothly and we can keep the interoperability as good as possible. All right, that's all they're going to do. They're just going to integrate. But you had a choice in what you were going to use. That's why, in my humble opinion, there is this mass rush to release CBDCs now. So you even see this in sectors, and we're going to cover this a little bit. This will be a massive video You even see this in sectors like India, who are against certain crypto. They're not against all crypto, but legacy crypto, such as Bitcoin, yes, they're going to be against this because the world as a whole is moving towards a more green way of doing financial transactions and a myriad of other things. They just want more green technologies, more carbon neutral or carbon negative technologies implemented. That's just what's being pushed. So they understand this. So they're not going to conscript something that's going to go against the status quo because it would be negative for them on the world stage as a burgeoning economy. This could be, not could be, it's going to be one of the biggest economies in the world coming up. I mean, massive amount of capital is going to be coming out of India, Africa, China, China already. So they want to make the best possible decision. So now you see they're having the accelerator program, by, was it Loomis Labs? I believe it is. Yep, Loomis Labs is having their accelerator program, and they're leveraging blockchains like Stellar. And there's a few others, I can't remember off the top of my head, in India. So that this is going to cover not only just P2P payments and stuff like that. That's actually minor, I believe, of what they're trying to do. They're going to be incentivizing businesses. So once again, we're talking about B2B transactions going on here, which are going to be massive in years to come. And we're seeing blockchain establish roots in areas, in regions where they're going to be able to grow with those particular economies. So as the money grows, so will the blockchains, and they will absorb massive amounts of capital. We're literally looking at the new world banking system grow right before our eyes, and we're a part of it. We're holders of those particular protocol, those cryptocurrency rails. That is a good thing. Now, your patience is predicated upon only you. You decide whether you're going to benefit from this or not. Neither I nor anyone else is going to be affected whether someone out there buys or sells any of these crypto rails. Retail means nothing. Retail means nothing. You can convince all the retail to buy that you want. It means nothing. The banks are going to take over. The large business institutions are going to take over. Okay, that's just how it's going to be. And that will spike the parabolic runs. And there will not be massive parabolic runs like what you want to see to make millionaires and billionaires until that happens. Other than that, you're just getting tiny little money. It's like you could get that with any crypto right now. There's crypto right now that's not banking coins. You can make a pretty good amount day trading. Okay, so this is where the world is going. You have all of these different countries where blockchain is ingraining itself. Think about that for a moment. Africa, blockchain is deeply ingraining itself. You have Stellar in Africa, Cardano in Africa. You have Algorand in Europe and Stellar and XRP in Europe. You have, I believe Ripple is doing some things in Africa. I believe they may have some corridors in Africa. You have Ripple, I believe. You definitely have Algorand, Celo, and Stellar in Latin America. You have blockchain is ingraining itself everywhere, setting itself up to be the new banking sector. I don't know how else to put it. That's really what it is. A lot of people don't want to say that. I understand. I have a lot of viewers who are in the banking sector watching my channel, and blockchain is not a threat to you. It is a compliment to you. Okay, so I don't want to alarm you, but they are the new wing, I'll say, the new wing of the banking sector, and it's coming fast. Now, the Bank of International Settlements, no, it wasn't the Bank of International Settlements PDF. It was, correction, it was it was a PDF from a very large institution was saying it would take 2 to 3 years. I can't remember which one, but I posted the PDF for people. A lot of you probably downloaded it. But it was saying it would take 2 to 3 years for this infrastructure upgrade to take place, for all of this system to be up and running and ready to flow as one flowing running system. So we have Rosie Rios was on cheddar.com doing an interview, and they asked her about XRP and Ripple, and to show you how firm she believes in this, and there's another little tidbit I want to talk about with Rosie Rios. She confirmed and affirmed her statements prior, saying that blockchain is here to stay, and that there's a very bright future for blockchain as cryptocurrency rails and utility. The utility era of blockchain will be explosive because of individuals like Rosie Rios. But also take into account that she's sort of a talent scout, right? So she is on this show called Unicorn Hunters. This I did not know, but it highlights her ability to find up-and-coming billion-dollar companies. Now we know that that Ripple could be much more than $1 billion company, much more than that. The trillions that they could possibly stand to move. This doesn't mean it's a guarantee. There's so many people out there that be like, it's not going to do that. I'm not professing to know what it's going to do. I just know the potentiality of what it can do. And it can move trillions of dollars at this particular juncture. And I believe that they will, at their full capacity, once there's a lot of upgrades done, I believe they can easily move quadrillions. But I don't believe they're going to be the only one. It's going to be a team effort. XRP, Stellar, Algorand, Hedera, a lot of these banking coins, and the fasteners. There's a lot of fastener protocol that bring everything together. They're going to stand to benefit from this. It's going to be a team effort, but they could stand to move quadrillions of dollars if everything goes off without a hitch and goes according to plan. But Rosie Rios is sort of a talent scout, which tells you that she saw the potential in Ripple. It's not just a job for a paycheck. A lot of individuals do that. They take positions just for a paycheck. She's not doing that. She's actively telling people, hey, the time is now for blockchain as a utility for it to be a fiat currency rail. And so I thought that was interesting. It was a pretty good interview by Rosie Rios, who continues to ignite the fire of the public about XRP and Ripple. And Ripple and XRP are synonymous. Okay, guys, it's just how it is. I know a lot of people like to separate them, but XRP is an integral part of the XRPL ledger. All right, so it has to be used. But Rosie Rios was saying that. Then also we have Craig Dewitt released a tweet, and a lot of you probably saw this. These tweets get retweeted very quickly. But it says, proud to share I've been selected as Vice Chair, U.S. Faster Payments Council for cross-border payments. Listen, there's a lot that could be taken from this tweet. Investigating CBDCs and the best-in-class technologies to make them possible. The best-in-class technologies. This is why it's important, like I said before, to cheer on these companies like Stellar, Ripple, Algorand. Don't you want to make disgusting amounts of money? Tweet at these people, incentivize them. Do everything you can if you want those millions to come. And you can never say that you weren't warned to participate and take action. However, you see what's going on. Investigating CBDCs and the best-in-class technologies to make them possible. This is why Stellar did their Starlight upgrade. All of these protocol are trying to upgrade. Hedera is very powerful, even without upgrading right now. Very powerful. So you have Ripple is going to have to do upgrades. XRP is going to have to continuously do upgrades. You have Algorand doing upgrades. Algorand has added liquidity, certain liquidity elements to it, new liquidity elements to expand its liquidity. All of these cryptocurrency rails, all of these blockchains see the writing on the wall. They see what's coming. And so they want to make sure that the legacy system, which definitely is fighting back. I keep telling you guys that this is a fight. There are no guarantees. Although the future is extremely bright, we have to continue to fight. We cannot rest on our laurels. We cannot allow the companies to rest. I'm going to continue to call them. I'm going to continue to call their offices. I am going to continue to call the banks, the central bank, the Bank of International Settlements. I'm going to continue to call the IMF. I'm going to continue to call the European Central Bank. Their numbers are out there. I put them in videos before for all of you to write down or put in your phones, and you can make calls as well. And stay on them about CBDCs and adopting blockchain technologies and letting them know personally, this is what I'm doing. I'm not telling you what to do. It's not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And continue to tell them what we, the people, desire so that you and I can benefit from this system. If not, they'll take and conscript the system anyway, and they'll find a way that it benefits them more and us less, or benefits them completely and us not at all. We must stay on them and make our presence felt. Okay, so these companies see what's about to happen, and they must stay ahead of the competition in this fight with the legacy system. It's sort of like a market share fight. Okay, who's gonna dominate the market? Who's really going to control this? This is a fight about power and control. In the future, I believe blockchain will take a large amount of capital and control over policy as well from the legacy banking system. I believe it could be enough to be close to a partnership. It'll be more of a partnership of power than anything within the next maybe 2 decades. And that's conservative. That's very, very conservative. It could take longer than that. But they're going to have to innovate and stay very much ahead of the legacy system if they want to do that. If they do that, you and I are richer than we could ever believe. If they're able to do that, we are richer than you could ever believe at this particular time holding these banking coins. So we want them to take that large part of capital. We want them to take that large part of the power structure over, and policy is important. Policy is very important. The more capital that they control, the more businesses and regions and corridors that they control, the more that blockchain will have a voice in the policy that is rolled out. Sort of like what the Bank of International Settlements has, European Central Bank has, the IMF have. Well, welcome to the team. Shake my hand. You don't really have to shake it. But anyway, we're a part of that new banking system if everything rolls out. That's how powerful what we're doing is right now. That's how powerful we are. And so the tweet ends with some big industry players, including Ripple, involved. More to come. Ripple involved. So we see that for-profit companies or the non-profit companies, blockchain is making its presence felt as the new wing of the banking sector, the non-banking financial institution sector. And this is very, very good. So now we have a PDF that was dropped from Maiden Labs. I've been waiting for them to drop something. I knew they were going to cook up a very, very meticulous piece, and they did. And so they released this PDF. The full PDF is not available just yet. You have the executive summary, and that's what we're going to take a look at right now. So from maidenlabs.org, make sure you go over there, give them some traffic, check them out. We have this is on page 3 of the PDF executive summary. And in the PDF is titled Centering Users in the Design of Digital Currency. And it begins as such on page 3. Despite the leadership and technical prowess of the United States, its payment system trails behind. I just want to stop there for a moment. And it shows that there is that this is going to be pushed. It shows that this is going to be pushed because as far as digital currencies, because the United States, I would think, wants to maintain the power of the dollar. Other countries know that now is the time, while a new sort of banking system is being set up, banking infrastructure is being set up, that they can grab a whole lot of power by being the first to implement their CBDCs and take a whole lot of power from the dollar and have their currency, whether it be their CBDC or an agnostic world reserve currency, take over for the dollar. Then the United States would not be able to dominate like it does. The United States would not be able to influence global policy like it does. It will lose a lot of its power. So this is another reason why there is the mad push from the rest of the world for CBDCs, and possibly a reason why the United States is sort of trying to drag the blockchain and CBDC progress down with this lawsuit about regulatory clarity, when really there really doesn't need to be. Although Stellar doesn't have to worry about that because it's registered as a currency in New York City. So Stellar doesn't have to worry about that. It's already registered as a security by the New York City Financial Division. It's already over for Stellar. We're good to go. However, all the other blockchains would suffer who are working out of the United States, that we either have to leave the United States or seek regulatory clarity. And that is going to hold up a lot of the business around the world as far as the development of those protocol and the pushing of them as CBDCs. Trust me on this, it's a headache because there's not a lot of people who want to run afoul of the United States. You have to keep that in mind. The United States can make you pay in a myriad of ways, and business-wise, that is not good. So you don't want to run afoul of the United States. You want to work with them. So that's why a lot of places have been trying their best to be patient and wait for regulatory clarity before rolling out their CBDCs on a lot of these protocol that would stand to require regulatory clarity from the SEC and a lot of the other financial regulatory bodies in the United States. So this is why you see it was so easy for a lot of the banks to test on consensus using Ethereum, which I believe, like I said, is easily replaceable with HBAR, Stellar, etc., superior technologies. But since Ethereum was not at the time going to be regulated by SEC as possibly being a security, it was easy for them to just go ahead and use Ethereum as a test for their CBDCs, or a placeholder, if you will, for a CBDC to be swapped out in the future for superior technology, because it didn't have to worry about regulatory clarity. Now, we'll see how that affects things coming up in the future if Ethereum is actually taken to court as a security. We'll see how that affects these CBDCs around the world. However, the other cryptocurrency rails that could be utilized and leveraged as CBDCs, definitely they're affected by the leverage legally and politically that the United States has over the rest of the world. And so I think they've held back a little bit just for that. I don't think that's going to last too much longer, but it's something to take into account and to remember. Let's get back to this PDF document. Despite the leadership and technical prowess of the United States, its payment system trails behind, struggling to move money in ways that are fast, cheap, and easy. Let me add in my little tidbit. That's because of the legacy system is greedy and fat, and they have been used to raking in a ton of money, both directly, and their intermediaries have been raking in a lot of money, bringing in a lot of capital as well from these particular bloated fees, okay, overly bloated fees. And this archaic system has been highly beneficial to the individuals who are beneficiaries of the legacy system. Okay, so that's why that's happening. Let's continue on here. Infrastructural challenges persist, and millions of Americans experience financial pain, insecurity, and uncertainty. There is a fierce debate about how to upgrade. We just covered this with all of these new governing bodies, these digital currency governing bodies, digital payments governing bodies that they are now erecting in the United States. So keep that in perspective as well. There is a fierce debate about how to upgrade the U.S. payments system. The discussion revolves around 5 alternative and potentially complementary options. Bullet point number 1, making incremental improvements to the traditional banking sector. This is what we were talking about before. This is where that PDF document said it would take 2 to 3 years for them to do this. Then we had the Bank of International Settlements show us in a graph that it would take, what was it, 3 to 5 years for the upgrades to actually, the upgrading of their systems to be fully done, fully complete. So we're looking at anywhere, according to these PDFs, from 2 to 5 years for the systems, the CBDC systems, MBDC, MCBDC systems to be fully up and running. So yes, this is going to require some patience. Bullet point number 2, investing further in private sector financial technology innovation. Yes, they would have to do that. Right now, there's not a lot of incentive for the United States to do that. I do think as inflation goes up and as the financial sectors are stressed a little bit more, the realty systems are stressed a little bit more. There's a lot of stresses that are going to take place that will facilitate the mass adoption of these particular innovations. But as of right now, there's buffers in place, and those buffers are keeping it where they don't really feel they have to invest in these particular innovations like these companies and such just yet. But when those buffers are removed, I would believe that if the United States wants to remain the #1 world power, if it's still that, and wants to remain at the head of the class, so to speak, in charge of the class, so to speak, they're definitely going to have to invest and allow these companies to grow and incentivize the companies to allow their technologies to be utilized by the United States and in all of their financial sectors, and give regulatory clarity that is conducive to the growth of these particular sectors. Okay. Bullet point number 3. Advancing regulatory clarity, we just covered that. Advancing regulatory clarity and the mainstream viability of private stablecoins. Keywords, private stablecoins. They're definitely going to need that. They have waved the white flag on stablecoins, and this is something that they've shown. This particular type of crypto, they've shown they are open to giving regulatory clarity to. Not only that, but conscripting that into the service of the dollar, so to speak. So this way, the idea has been floated that they could utilize stablecoins to kind of puff up the American dollar or support the American dollar so that the dollar doesn't lose its influence, because a lot of these stablecoins are pegged to the dollar. So this makes it easy for the United States to say, we could benefit from that, and yet it's not too much of a detriment to us, how an agnostic protocol might be as a world reserve currency, which would take power away from the dollar as the world reserve currency. So stablecoins are not that much of a threat. But what it does, stablecoins, if they're mass adopted based upon their activity on the blockchains like Stellar, Hedera, XRP. I'm not sure. The XRP have stablecoins on it. I'm not certain of. But there's a lot of protocol that host stablecoins on their networks. This opens the door to the mass adoption also of those particular cryptocurrency banking rails, the fiat currency rails, the banking coins. So there's a lot of thought, I think, that the United States government officials and the financial sector has to do before they fully give in and just say, hey, let's go ahead and let's give regulatory clarity to the stable coins and let's mass adopt them. But I believe we're very close to that. That would be a brilliant thing, by the way, on all accounts, if that does happen. And that would be huge. That is a huge catalyst. That's a huge catalyst. And I predict that when stable coins have regulatory clarity, like how they state here, advancing regulatory clarity and the mainstream of private stablecoins, I believe that when that happens, you will see a mass buying of banking coins, a mass buying. I think we'll have a little bit of a spike at that time, because that's a huge catalyst for the adoption of now the fiat currency rails to move fiat currency here to there. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but I think a lot of you can see the connection here. This is why you had Stellar go to the government meeting and promote the stable coins and such. And you have a lot of other foundations and companies promoting stable coins through Circle. You see how that's going? It's because it opens the door for the banking coins. They're next. If stable coins are absorbed in mass adopted and given regulatory clarity, the banking coins are next. Just my humble opinion. Muy Linda, mi gente. So when that happens, I'm going to be buying a lot of coins too. I'm not even going to lie to you. That happens. I'm buying a lot of coins now. I'm just stacking, as my brother would say. Stacking coins. And if that happens, I know that there's going to be a spike. I'm going to try to get as many coins as I can before that spike happens. So I'm actively listening and watching out for catalyst. Next bullet point. Advancing regulatory clarity and the mainstream viability of decentralized cryptocurrencies. And next bullet point, we're going to go straight into it. Issuing a U.S. retail central bank digital currency. That is major. Major. Listen, Stellar, Hedera, Algorand, XRP, they must. It is imperative. It is beyond important that they keep their technologies cutting edge every day. Their greatest minds should be working on making these coins the absolute best, because at any moment the United States could say, well, these are the bevy of coins, cryptocurrency rails that we are going to clear for usage in CBDCs. It's going to affect everything in the United States, not just the banks, the commercial banks. It's going to affect central banks. It's going to affect things at a federal level, commercial banks. It's going to affect business to business payments will go through the roof. The transactions, now that the rates will be lowered significantly, Without intermediaries, the transactions will go through the roof. P2P payments, I think that'll be a little slower actually than business to business. They're more incentivized to cut costs because businesses want to make money. They would be the first to use the cryptocurrency banking coins en masse. B2B transactions. I'm telling you now, I believe that in my humble opinion. So, and then the commercial banks will be right behind them. But I believe there will be a flip because B2B transactions from large business institutions and small to one another, I think will explode first. Then, as the banking sector sort of levels out the pricing of the CBDCs, right? That price is going to go to a very high level, in my humble opinion, because of the high transaction value and the high transaction volume. And the transaction volume on the networks will be insane. Remember, with Stellar, surge pricing kicks in. Okay, that has an impact. So I believe when that happens, commercial banks will then take over as far as its transaction volume and leveling out the high value of those particular cryptocurrency coins. And they will be the biggest users for quite some time. And central banks obviously would then, once they're up and running, it depends on who can mass adopt faster. That's another thing. The rate of mass adoption by the different sectors. So we'll see how that works out. Either way, that price is going to raise. It's going to raise a toe. It's going to raise. Whew, we're getting deep here a little bit. I didn't plan on this being a surgical one, but there's so much to cover. Let's go down here. It says, while technologists design the future of money, central bankers from nearly every nation are exploring a digital version of their currency. Not since the foundation of the internet have such critical and far-reaching financial technology decisions being on the table. Web 2.0, the social web, was built without meaningful user influence at protocol layers. Some of the architectural choices made by technologists and entrepreneurs led to socially and politically harmful outcomes, including concentrations of power that continue to pose risk to democracy today, and that have sweeping effects on user privacy, data, security, and trust. So we're talking about decentralization. This is why the Bank of International Settlements was talking about DeFi. Listen, they understand that with DeFi, although you can be sufficiently decentralized, I believe that I'm going to say I agree with the Bank of International Settlements and what they were alluding to with like the Hedera style of decentralization. Hedera is sufficiently centralized because they separate the particular aspects of their ledger and how it functions. Okay, so the governing body, no one member of the governing body has all of the power. And I think they see that with DeFi, whoever holds the most, the greatest amount of capital on that decentralized finance exchange, that's pretty centralized. They control a lot of power. They have a lot of power. That's a form of centralization, right? So if I have 100,000 coins and you have 2 coins and all of my liquidity is what's providing liquidity, I control that. That is now centralized to me. So I think that's what they were alluding to. I could be wrong. There's so many brilliant minds on the channel. If I am wrong, please correct us, correct me, and inform us in the comment section. I'm in there and I learn a lot from my subscribers as I hope they learn something from myself as well. So we share a lot of information here. We are a research-based channel. Feel free to share, okay? And if you really want to share, go into the communities tab and share underneath those posts because that's where a lot of us who are the researchers go to share information, okay? So let's continue on here. It says, the potential creation of a U.S. retail CBDC is thought to promise systemic efficiency and improve financial circumstances for millions of Americans. Yes, and I agree with that. The problem is that most Americans have been turned against crypto. So we can't get their support in the mass adoption of cryptocurrency. I've heard this even out in the world. I've had people tell me that crypto is just a gamble. Mind-blowing to a researcher. I'm doing all of this research, learning about layer two protocols, layer 1, federated Byzantine mechanics and mechanisms and such, and then to have these people just tell me it's a gamble. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? So they have been fed a negative image of crypto through their media. So we're not going to get their backing. Although, yes, it is true that it would be beneficial to millions of Americans, billions of people around the world. Yet this hypothesis and the assumptions about users and use cases driving the exploration of a US CBDC remains untested. By conducting user research in close collaboration with leading technologists, we aim to ensure that any attempts to improve the US financial system are grounded in and guided by a deep understanding of potential users and use cases. This is why it's important for the leaders of the companies to reach out to the governments, to reach out to the large banking institutions. I said this before, set up your meetings, talk to them, explain to them the intricacies of the system, the benefits of them, how you can shear up. If there is any negative that they can perceive, they're definitely going to put that on the table. Before they say anything positive, they're going to lay out the negatives and say, how do you solve this? You have to show them that there is a solution to those particular problems that they're going to lay out before you, so you can negate that and, in essence, shift everything to the highlighting of the positives of those particular protocol. But these meetings must continue to take place. You cannot continue to allow only Stellar to represent everyone. Stellar, Consensus, and a few others. No, the entirety of the community, if you want to survive, you cannot continue to hide. I say that with all due respect. All due respect. You cannot continue to hide. You must step forward, attend some of these meetings with the financial bodies, and explain to them the intricacies and the benefits of the blockchain technology and why it should be utilized, why it should be incentivized, and why it should be mass adopted. It benefits us all. And what does it do for you and I as holders of the banking card? Raise it tall, and price will raise. But they must take action. Let's continue on here. By conducting user research in close collaboration with leading technologists. Okay. Read that little part already. As a CBDC is the only possible way of improving the financial system. That is powerful, coming from Maiden Labs. That is powerful. Maiden Labs is powerful. You guys, just please look up this company, maidenlabs.org. And then do a Google search on what they have worked on. And hopefully those articles are still up, and you'll see that they are a great company. All right. Now, let's go back to this here. That was powerful. As a CBDC is the only one possible way of improving the financial system, our insights are applicable beyond this use case. That's unbelievable that they said that. I love that they did, though, because a lot of powerful eyes are going to read this document. They already are. They already are. So I'm glad they said that. Intended for anyone critically evaluating the risks and benefits of various approaches to improving the U.S. payment system for users. Our insights are especially designed for technologists, policymakers. That's who's going to read this. So let's say you don't believe that a lot of powerful minds have read this from central banks, commercial banks, the government. Take this PDF and you email it to them. I'm not saying that I emailed at least 8 people. Maybe I'm saying that. Email it to them. Send them a link. Tweet it to them. So then we know that they have to see this. All right, now let's continue on here. Intended for anyone critically evaluating the risks and benefits of various approaches to improving the U.S. payment system for users. So they just iterated what I just said. So it shows me that we're all on the same page. All of the foremost minds in crypto, I think we're all on the same page. If you're listening to what we're saying, we're all in agreement. This is my first time reading this document, and they're saying everything that I'm saying right after I just said it. So we're all in agreement that these things need to be explained to the policymakers, the technologists. There needs to be a lot more done. We have a lot more steps to go. Patience is going to be needed with these banking coins, but the upside is insane. Insanely disgusting amounts of money will flow through. There will be a new system born, and we are a part of that system. We are a power in that system. Also, the outcome is we're going to have a heavy hand as cryptocurrency rail holders in the outcome of this, because we hold them. There will have to be action taken because we hold them. This is a high possibility action will have to be taken. And I believe that they could lean towards what I believe it was the Bank of International Settlements PDF was. Yeah, I believe it was that we presented on one of the previous videos, where they allow holders of those coins to stake them for liquidity. If all of the banks are staking and all of the central banks, all of the commercial banks are staking, if all of, let's say a large percentage of the large business institutions are staking, and then you and I are staking, that is the largest liquidity pool, I would think, in the history of mankind. Imagine the liquidity. There will never be a liquidity crisis ever again. But do you know what it does to that price if we all stake with central bank? I almost popped the vein. What was this? But can you imagine central banks staking, commercial banks staking, businesses, large business institutions staking? I'm sure some small businesses will stake as well. They might not be able to do as much. And then you and I staking, what that does to that price with the high transaction value and the high transaction volume. This is what people aren't talking about. Staking. They presented this in a Bank of International Settlements document. So it's a possibility. They don't have to buy back anything. All they have to do is just make sure you're not going to act to destabilize the price once they get it to where they want it, or that you can do very little to destabilize the price. They can do that by staking. I said it before. I showed you the document on the screen. I showed you. Let's continue on here. And what's insane about this document? I only read like 2 paragraphs. This is a 7-page executive summary. They haven't even released the full PDF yet. It's coming this week, by the way. You want to download this PDF immediately, save it somewhere, 2 to 3 places so it can't be lost. We want to make sure we don't lose any information and have it for reference later on. Just 2 paragraphs. Let's continue on here. This is one of the most impactful documents I've ever read, most clear documents as far as the sight of the future. Our insights are especially, okay, so we read that already. Let's go down here. This work seeks to contribute to the vital feedback loops needed and often missing between people, technologists, and policymakers that can ensure we are designing and deploying infrastructure layer technology systems responsibly and equitably to help technologists, central bankers, and private sector leaders begin to distinguish between a hypothetical user, easily conceptualized through unfounded biases, and users, and it says and users' behaviors that can be verified at scale. We identified and examined a few of the most common assumptions among digital currency designers and decision makers regarding likely users. Let me read that again. We identified and examined a few of the most common assumptions among digital currency designers. Okay, so I love what Maiden Labs did. They took their time. They could have rushed this document. They didn't. They took their time. They had a lot of discussions, I would imagine, a lot of meetings, collected a lot of data, did a lot of research, took their time to meticulously put together this document. So that way, not only will, I'm assuming the full PDF will be just, it will be filled with bountiful information, a bounty of information and clarity. But if they have to attend a meeting, they will know more than even the most astute minds, because not only do they have the intellect to convey the particular messages in a closed door meeting with, let's say, central bankers or large CEOs of large financial institutions, but now they have the research to back it up. So it's not a rushed document. A lot of times I feel like the Bank of International Settlements and the International Monetary Fund, who in certain ways, with all due respect, because I have a lot of them watching my channel, because I make phone calls and they monitor the channel a little bit. But with all due respect, I feel like a lot of their PDFs are a little bit rushed. Need a little bit more research done for them to speak on certain issues within the blockchain, okay? However, Maiden Labs has not done that. Maiden Labs has taken their time. This is a very, very powerful document. Let's continue on here. One more bullet point, and then if you want, download this, go to their website, give them some traffic, And you can read the entirety of the executive summary yourself. Okay, I'll post a link to this in the community tabs. All right. Following consultations with technical, policy, private sector stakeholders, three research themes emerged. I told you, I knew it. Just from analysis of that prior statement, I knew they had a lot of meetings and they spoke to a lot of people. Let me read that again. They confirmed what I was just thinking. Following consultations with technical, policymakers. So they've already talked to policymakers. Maiden Labs is, we need to keep an eye and an ear on what is coming out of Maiden Labs. I try to check as often as I can. But we need to keep an eye on this company. They're doing a great job. So they already talked and had discussions with policymakers. And we can see where they're leaning towards. This is a great, great, great development. And private sector stakeholders. Three research themes emerge. Bullet point 1. What are the needs, pains, behaviors, and attitudes of Americans within the current financial system? Specifically regarding their relationship to and use of money and payment systems. Bullet point number 2. What are Americans' perceptions regarding financial transaction privacy that might affect core architectural digital currency design choices? That's something we were talking about before. So that negative outlook on crypto and the possibility that it's centralized and not completely private, the feeling, and I know you've heard this from a lot of the Bitcoin people and other banking coin holders, the fact that they believe that they were lied to and they thought these were private transactions, and now they had been told, whether it's false or true, who knows, that their transactions are not completely private. So now there's a distrust with crypto by a large amount of people. There's all of these issues that have to be cleared up. But I believe it can be cleared up with advertisement, right? Crypto companies going out there and presenting themselves as trustworthy, explaining to people on television, going on news shows and explaining how secure the data is, how private some of these blockchains actually are, transparency issues, and clearing up everything and giving them a good light to view crypto through. So I think a lot of this is changeable. It's going to take time. Okay. Next bullet point. What common assumptions can be validated or discarded regarding presumed early users of digital currencies? I was just saying this. Maiden Labs and I, we probably need to have a discussion. We think a lot alike. And I appreciate that because it shows me we have some very, very, very brilliant minds. And those brilliant minds have a fire in their belly and they're doing the research that's proper. As a researcher, I respect good research. And I also respect clarity of thought, okay? Although not all the time that I have the greatest of clarity. I will admit that. Namely, assumptions regarding unbanked Americans, people who send remittances, and small and medium-sized enterprises. To learn about the unique and personal experiences Americans have with the U.S. payment system, we conducted 91 one-on-one qualitative interviews through recorded video calls with a diverse range of participants. To generate additional insights at scale, we conducted a national survey of 1,319 people. Respondents were largely representative of the U.S. population. So we're going to stop there with this document. As I said before, they've done a great job at Maiden Labs, okay? So check them out, download this PDF, give it a read. It's powerful. Let's move on. So now we have a tweet from Illumis Labs, all right? And it says hashtag India Blockchain Accelerator. At Stellar.org, at J Rice Tweets, is excited to enter into the booming Indian startup ecosystem and is glad to help to hashtag educate and hashtag scale up with the hashtag Stellar ecosystem. Stellar is invading India. As I stated, as I iterated earlier on in the video, Stellar is planting roots everywhere. They're taking what they're doing by ingraining themselves in such a large part of the world. And when I say large part of the world, I'm talking about all the places that they're building corridors and incentivizing businesses to leverage Stellar. We're talking Africa, Latin America, Europe, now India. And they're getting into places where blockchain has not been smiled upon, at least legacy blockchain has not been smiled upon, but they're showing you Stellar has no problem entering these particular markets and making corridors there. So Stellar is entering India. India is, its economy is going to be massive in the future. There's so much capital that I know what India is doing right now. I mean, in the future, there's going to be exponential growth. So to get in as a blockchain early on and grow with that system, that's a lot of capital that will be flowing through any blockchain. That doesn't have to just be Stellar. Now that Stellar is there, I'm assuming that there's behind the door deals where other foundations are probably doing business and signing memorandums of understanding with business institutions and potentially banks in India as well, like Algorand. I see Algorand could possibly make its way into India if it hasn't already. And a few other banking coins could make their way into India and will be easily accepted as not-for-profits are some of the best at negotiating their way into otherwise non-negotiable corridors, right? It's sort of like if you have a for-profit company, it's a wolf with teeth. That's how people view them, knowing that they have a vested interest to do what's best for them and not necessarily for the customer. That's just how for-profits are viewed. But non-profits are viewed like a toothless wolf. It's harmless and could be possibly cute. So they're let in much more easily. All right. So Loomis Labs is noted as an innovation management company. It says working with at Binance, at Terra Money, at Covalent, at Polkadot, at Near Protocol. And then so now you have them, they're leveraging Stellar. So they are heavy in working with the blockchains. All right. We have some clientele from Loomis Labs. Let's look at some of their clientele. You have Harmony. It's pretty good. Binance. That's cool. Matic. It's there. Wait. What's this? Microsoft. Microsoft is one of the clients of Loomis Labs. Loomis Labs is now, listen, you can't possibly fathom that Microsoft wouldn't want a piece of India, of the India financial sector. You can't believe that. Of course they wouldn't. Microsoft is a partner with Loomis Labs. Loomis Labs is doing India Accelerator with Stellar. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I foresee Stellar working with Microsoft. I see Microsoft leveraging Stellar, probably a few other blockchains as well. There's not going to be one winner. There's going to be a few banking coin winners and entering into India. I perceive that. Bank of Hodlers. That's hilarious right there. And blueenergy.io. So just from that alone, Microsoft is a client of Loomis Labs, and Loomis Labs is entering India Accelerator, leveraging Stellar. So that's huge right there. There's something I will look a little deeper into to see if there's any more connections between Stellar and Microsoft. And but that alone is very, very good. Muy Linda, mi gente. We've had so many happenings lately with Stellar. It's unbelievable. And the next few years are going to be an interesting ride. We have to just keep our eye out for catalyst, our ear out for catalyst. Continue to follow the money, follow what's going on. We are not married to any of these protocols. So yes, I hold all of the banking coins, a good amount of all of the banking coins. That way, no matter which one wins, I win. I think that's just wise. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. If that basket were to be robbed or that basket were to be smashed, all of those eggs are getting smashed. All of those eggs are getting taken. I like to have a few here and there. It's not too many. Just the banking coins, all right? Hedera, Algorand, Celo, Stellar, XRP. A few of them are going to win, if not all of them. There's enough money to go around. Let's continue on here. We have an article here on prnewswire.com about Algorand. It says, BNext becomes the first fintech to use login IDs FIDO certified biometric authentication to secure remittances on Algorand between Spain and Latin America. That's major. Biometric authentication. Everything is getting so advanced. It's moving so fast. Algorand is making the right moves. They're so, I don't even know how to phrase it, but they're doing a fantastic job on doing all of the right things. I know I just oversimplified that. My apologies. But let's read a little bit in this article here. It says Spanish fintech BNext, the leading emerging alternative to banks in the Spanish-speaking world, and Login ID, a FIDO-certified biometric authentication provider, today announced a partnership which calls for the integration of Login ID's FIDO2 SDKs into the BNext mobile application, providing BNext customers secure, frictionless logins and transaction confirmation, a digital signature and receipt for transactions. Good job, Algorand. Good job. Good job, BNext. BNext has placed its focus on building banking services for the unbanked, servicing the Latin American market. Let me stop right there. So Algorand already has a lot that they're doing in Latin America. It's just icing on the cake to have another company coming in and trying to make deals that is leveraging Algorand. So now we have a multi-pronged takeover of Latin America. I love to use the word takeover just because it's interesting, just fun, just think about it, but that's what it seems like. So the more companies we have leveraging Algorand and bringing it into Latin America or any new market is a great thing. And we see how that price of Algorand can easily go up. It's doing very well. Remember, we came in, when I first started the channel, what was Algorand was 52 cents? 52 cents. Then it dropped down, what was like 49 cents? Then it went back up and it's been up ever since. So we see what it does to that price when Algorand is utilized and adopted, invested in. When anything happens to Algorand, that price starts to go up. So this is a very, very good thing. The more people we have spreading Algorand around, helping it to be ingrained in these particular societies, the better. Let's continue on here. It says Spanish residents send, get this, over $18 billion in remittances every year, primarily to families in Latin America. This partnership builds on BNext's strategy around creating next generation banking services. This is a great thing, in my humble opinion. And just think about it. That's just the start. That's 18 billion is just the start. They're going to grow as a company. They're going to expand as a company. And what does it do to that price? Raise it all. You do a quiet one right there. We can whisper, raise it all. Raise it all. Let's continue on here. Login ID and BNext are both partnered with Algorand. BNext announced a relationship to help support their growth of financial services for the Latin American market, and Login ID announced in October initiatives related to building its authentication and identity SDKs for the Algorand community. So this is a great development in my humble opinion. We have more news on Algorand. World's first embeddable decentralized exchange, Algo Swap, launches on Algorand. This is very, very good. The more exchanges that the banking coins have with their extremely low fees, and with Algorand, of course, you have to take into account their smart contract capability. This is very good because they're going to take market share away from expensive legacy crypto protocols like Ethereum. So if you can have a decentralized exchange on Algorand, that is great. A decentralized exchange on Stellar, that is great. I've used a few. I've used one at least. A decentralized exchange on Hedera, that's great. Their fees are almost non-existent. And the more people get exposure to them, the more they'll want to use them. That drives up, not only is that drives up transaction volume, but as businesses are starting to get wind of that, of course, there can be high transaction values that move across the network. And we'll see how that balances out in the future. But if we're going to have the pushing of mass adoption of decentralized exchanges, if the Bank of International Settlements wants to actually highlight decentralized exchanges as they did in their video that they released, that was surprising. Their video that they released, as well as their PDF document that we covered on this channel, if they're going to highlight and try to utilize decentralized exchanges and push them, then this could be more significant than I think we're all anticipating. So this is very, very good. Build your decentralized exchanges on Algorand, Hedera, and Stellar. Now, this gives you time to grow and shear up the system, make it that much better, even if it's just whether it's infrastructure or something superficial. Then when there's mass adoption, everyone's ready to use these things. The interfaces are simplified for ease of use for the common person, as well as you can have an offering for business institutions and banks and such. If you want to do that, could be one app or one website for everyone, I suppose. But I would have different offerings for different people. That's just personally what I would do. Not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but this is very, very good. So it says, Algorand-based startup Headline Inc. has successfully built and deployed a customizable, embeddable, decentralized exchange with a 7-line snippet of code. Anyone building dApps on the Algorand blockchain can now integrate their own custom DEX solution. That's also good. Whatever can be built on Algorand, and hopefully it's something that is good and is going to be adopted by companies and utilized. It's going to bring more, it's going to make it easier for people to want to use a decentralized exchange as opposed to a centralized exchange. There's a lot of people out there that feel left out. They don't want to use centralized exchanges. I've heard this everywhere. They just want decentralized exchanges, which means if you don't have one of those, that you're leaving a lot of people out from your blockchain. So to have one on Algorand now means that a lot more people are going to be able to utilize Algorand, and that is a good thing. And they're going to be able to easily not only utilize Algorand, but have access to Algorand. And any other dApp that's built on Algorand, and any other token that is built on Algorand. Maybe you even have NFTs on some of these DEXs. I don't know how they want to do it, but we'll see. Sort of like how they do on Pancake Swap. You have access to a lot of different things, but we'll see how they do that. But any of this is very, very good for Algorand. They're making great progress. We saw Silvio Micali had a meeting with a few presidents in Latin America. Algorand is making major moves in Latin America. That is very, very good. Last but certainly not least, we have Celo making a major push with CBDCs. I just want to highlight, remember Celo was at $2, right? And then it had that moment, it went parabolic. I thought I could have sworn it hit $14, but it shows it hit $11. I remember it hitting $12, but maybe it depends on what exchange you're looking at. Some of these exchanges are a little bit weird, but it went parabolic to $11. Then it went down to like 3. Then it went up to 10. Then it went down again to like 4, then 3, kind of consolidated for a while. Then it went up to 8. So we see it's easy for Celo to go parabolic. And so we have them now making this big CBDC push. We'll see what kind of deals they can get done over the next few months. We'll see if they have any announcements whatsoever. I anticipate that they will. That'll be very, very good. But even as a day trader, it's very easy to make money with Celo. You know, not as quickly as some of the more volatile crypto protocol, but as a banking coin, and the banking coins can be suppressed and stagnate for long periods of time. Celo, out of all the banking coins, goes the most parabolic the most times, in my humble opinion. This is what you see if you look at the chart. It's what I've experienced. Getting in at Celo at like $2 and then going to $10. And you see all of this, all of these parabolic runs, and that's without CBDCs. That's why this is important, and I believe that everyone should keep their eye on Celo. Here's an abstract from their PDF. It says, future of digital currencies. The digital currencies powering the financial system of the future are likely to come in a variety of different versions. This is very true. Some will be issued by central banks, what we are currently call central bank digital currency or CBDC, but others may be issued by private sector and backed by central bank liabilities. As policymakers become more familiar with the pros and cons of issuing a digital currency, essentially the why, it's natural that they will begin to turn their attention towards how a digital currency could be issued. Although there is still some debate as to whether digital currencies necessarily need to be issued using blockchain-based technology. This is why I told you there's a fight. because there are some saying that you can issue a central bank digital currency without the blockchain. And this is why it must be explained to them why blockchain is the best for issuing a central bank digital currency on. The legacy system is still going to push back. They don't want to lose, but if you give them a fight, then they may acquiesce to a partnership or conscripting, like what the Bank of International Settlements is saying. Okay, but that doesn't mean, and I'm assuming that Celo is mostly talking about the United States, as well as this European Central Bank, which seems a little iffy on certain CBDC aspects now, even though they were a little bit bullish on it earlier in the year. However, mostly the United States is a little bit iffy on CBDCs. So you have to convince them, you have to educate them, you have to do meetings with them, stay in their face, show them the benefits, show them that your technology is superior. You have to, if you want to win this war. And we definitely want them to win this war because that's going to make us a lot of money. It says, as policymakers become more familiar with the pros and cons of issuing a digital currency, it's natural they would begin to turn their attention towards how a digital currency should be issued. Okay, we read that already. It says to be issued using blockchain technology. The following report will nonetheless provide a detailed description of how a digital currency, either issued by a central bank or backed by a central bank liability, could be issued on the Celo blockchain. So they have a few documents like this out. They've been making a lot of tweets and sending out a lot of documents lately. Celo is making a major push, but I can assure you of this: if they land even one CBDC, that price is going to shoot through the roof. You see what they've done just with retail. You've seen how that price has gone up, gone parabolic just based off retail. Imagine they land even one CBDC. And I think they can get a few CBDCs. Celo is very, very good. Very, very good. And their team is a brilliant team. Take a look at who's on their team and who they've brought in over the last 6 months. So if they even land one CBDC, that Celo price is going to go through the roof. It already touched $10. So it's not like how other protocol people are like, I want to just see it touch $10. Celo already touched $10 already. It'll do it again easily, easily with a CBDC. Do I have to say it? I'm not going to say it, but with a CBDC, you believe it's just going to hit $10 and stop there. It hit $11, right? It hit $11. You look on CoinMarketCap and Coinbase, I think it says $11, I believe. Just imagine with a CBDC. So there's so many tabs open. I could keep going. It's just so much information. I have 3 Bank of International Settlements tabs. I suppose we're going to have to cover that another time. We may have to get surgical with that. There's certain happenings with the banking coins also. I may have to come out with a surgical video soon. We'll see how much more information I can collect on deals that are being done and connections that could be legitimately made between companies. We'll see about that. But thank you for being here with me. Thanks for watching the video. And now that you have all that information, what are you going to do with it? I know what I'm going to do with it. So until next time, let's get to the money.